Hi guys, it's me, just a Machine again, and for this video that I will be dedicated to Father's Day in June of 2026, I shall be talking about the last movie in the classic Planet of the Apes franchise. And let me tell you something, it was a bit of a disappointment for this movie because I was expecting to see a scene in which there was two people, one ape, one human, trapped in a mall underground, and they had to agree to help each other out, even though they didn't like each other very much. So I was kind of disappointed that in the whole run of this classic series of movies, I never saw that theme once. I guess it was probably in one of the extended cuts of the movies or something or other, which is kind of disappointing because I saw the theatrical versions of the movies. By the way, this one, the Battle for the Planet of the Apes, is actually a bit of a misnomer, and they do have an extended and theatrical cut of the movie on the one disc. And there's about maybe 7 minutes extra for the extended version, which that's what I did see. So anyway, I have to find about here, but I have a point about something I should say. Remember how I said that the conquest of the Planet of the Apes, that everything was really PG for the violence and the psychological torture and the nearly barbecuing of the ape creatures there? Well, it turns out that it goes back to G territory, which means that I can bring my children or my grandchildren if I wanted to, if I had them, to this movie that involves violence, vehicular manslaughter, gunshots, everything else. So I thought it was very funny that I could do that. And then they were cages. There are people being, being assaulted by apes. So that sounds like a real family treat for everyone in my darling family. But the funny thing is that in this movie they also have like flashback sequences of when the apes were being tortured and nearly flame boiled by flamethrowers. So that stuff it found in the PG movie should carry over the PG rating for this one. But they don't do that here, they just had it as G. That's the same rating as, say, a Disney movie or, say, one of the early childhood comedies that we all know and love. So that's kind of funny, actually. They have violent material in a G-rated film. You know, next thing they'll be having is monkey sex, which I'm not condoning whatsoever. In fact, I think monkeys and apes should have separate sexual partners, and it should be rated R, a hard R for me, probably MA. So anyway, this movie is quite interesting in that it continues the time loop from the other previous movies, in which it sets up the same avenue as what happened in the original 1968 Planet of the Apes movie, with that Charlton Heston go, damn you all, you blew all to hell. And I'm very disappointed that they don't actually do that sequence of the nuclear bomb you know, we're bad at everything in the world except eat kind, which is kind of I feel it's a missed opportunity because everybody knows about what happened in the first eight movie, so everyone wants that to be. They all have anticipation, what happens, what happened in the direct aftermath of a nuclear bomb and all of that stuff. And besides, it's very clear that happens on American soil. So what would happen in like Australia or Asia, for example? Would the same nuclear effects happen for those parts of the world? Where Africa, Europe, Antarctica, Paris and Hong Kong, would the same thing apply for them too? So anyway, this movie is actually kind of fascinating. It's kind of like the John Connor / Terminator type thing where the apes, Zera and Cornelius are set back in time from the future to, I guess, warn humanity about what happened in the future. But then they actually set it up because the offspring Caesar is brought up as an intelligent ape, and he creates Judgment Day, if you will, where apes rise up over humanity. I mean, not that we all deserve it from what we elected as president in the year 2015 and in 2024 for humanity. That's like a issue but there's another reference in here and then that I want to talk about in a minute. Also, speaking of references, when we were talking about conquest and they show the footage of conquest of the planet Apes, they also show a college setting with a bridge on the campus, and it looks very, very familiar. It's like the college that I grew up on, the Stony University, one of the buildings and bridges. But I looked it up and it turned out to be in California. So very similar type architecture, but different settings, different states. So anyway, we saw Caesar, Hail Caesar, Emperor of Rome, that type of thing. And I want to say for certain that that's a reference that they used in the newer trilogy movies called Rise of the Planet of the Apes, where the main monkey man is Caesar. So anyway, he's leading his coalition of apes to pretty much destroy humanity. And the one human that seemed to be on the ape side is the black guy from the last movie, McDonald. That's kind of funny that the one guy that sides with the apes is the black guy for whatever reason. I have no idea why they picked him for doing that. I would think they should get like a Carl Montalban's character from the other movie, but I don't know, I guess it's kind of ironic too. Anyway, another thing that's very funny is that they bring back the cages that were featured in the first Planet of the Apes movie, but they're not full like bird cages. They're more like a fencing around humans. But it's funny that when they have the humans like that, I couldn't help but notice that they have a Japanese person, two Japanese people in the cages, in the little like a crowd type thing, if you will. And I can't help but think that those people must be reliving some past memories of Japanese internment. Just something that kind of, I'm not saying that they did experience that horrible thing, but it just seems very similar to what went on for the grandparents or their parents. I don't know if that was intentional or whatever, but it just is something I noticed about this movie. So anyway, we see that the apes are trying to more or less get along with the little humanity they have to deal with. Like more of a peace offering type thing. Like, you sit here, we'll sit here, and we'll get along equally and all that. The humans don't want it. They really don't want it. And they try to lash out at the apes regardless, because they're just a bunch of stinky animals. Why should they obey anything from the ape side? And it's really quite funny that they click that, because at one point they do end up, the apes do try to get some information about themselves from a group of humans that are in a crazy cult or something or other, which later on they become like a Mad Max auto gang type thing, like in the game Vigilante 8. That's where this comes from. Oh, what a day, man, what a day, what a lovely day. But that current movie comes out like 30 years after this movie came out, which I believe it came out in 1973. Anyway, so they're trying to find information about themselves. Meanwhile, humanity is pushed to the brink of civilization by the apes that are superior to them in both survival strategy and they end up getting more savvy with weapons and technology and stuff. Which is quite weird, because in the last movie, in Conquest, and then it gets into the battle, it turns out that they had automatic weapons. They had machine guns, they had rifles, etc. How good they were, I can't say, but they had them anyway. But in this one, most of the ape society uses like melee weapons, like clubs, sticks, daggers, that kind of thing. So it's kind of a downgrade as far as weaponry is concerned. I have no idea why, but they eventually go into the guns later on. So the next show, Caesar, his wife and stuff, and I think she died toward the end of the by the hand of humans. But yeah, and you find out that the general that grew up, I forgot his name offhand, but he set humans up for killing Caesar's baby. But the number one rule of the jungle over there is apes don't kill apes. So he ended up crossing over that line, and then everybody hates him and hangs him in the end. A good family movie. Seeing a big gorilla being hanged is a good family image for kids. So anyway, they're not having the again, a civil society where they hunt humans and where they mistreat humans, much in the same way that humans mistreat apes. But like you said, they go way too far when it comes to depicting that. Like they were sub-ape people, and we as humans, we're bad, but we don't treat our apes like that, like they did for these things. Who don't have all kinds of psychological things, psychological torture tests, kind of other bad stuff. Kind of like we were setting up, like in the movie 20 days later with the rage virus and such. So anyway, this is one thing I want to know. Like they have all the apes like going ape kind, like they go within their own species. Like for example, they have the chimpanzees marry with the other chimpanzees, the orangutans with other orangutans, gorillas with other gorillas, the whole everything. But what would it be like if they actually crossbred? So that if a gorilla, let's say, like the chimpanzee, and they were to get together and Barry White would play on the radio, then what? Would the offspring be like a combination of both of them? Also, they portrayed something that I didn't think was possible in both the makeup, and I don't think it's possible in each kind either. They actually showed emotions, and they actually showed the apes crying over the sadness that whenever someone died, that was important to them. I don't know if apes are even capable of that. For example, if you kill when they're young, I don't know if they're able to cry. Number two, the makeup effects are so I should put it, they're very rigid and static. So I wonder if they were able to, when they did the special for that one ape that did that, or if they did that. Anybody can do that with that makeup on. But the movie is actually pretty fascinating in that regard. It makes you think about biology and I mean all that stuff. So anyway, you have a lot of this build up to this like big battle for the planet Earth. And it's funny because they have like a bunch of people, the Unity cult, which you have like a costumes on like the Military Gang and Trap. I'm trying to think of some ain't nothing but mammals, like doing the Discovery Channel, all that. So anyway, they dress up like that, and they all like got motor gangs, like I said, and then go and take down when the apes went through all until the next sequel happens. And what you do is, there are a bunch of vehicles. One's a pickup truck, one's a bike, I think. The other one's a school bus. Not the magic school bus, but just a school bus. And then they actually march into the camp and try to take down as many people as they can. And it's really funny because the critic show no prisoners, that type of deal. And they actually do succeed in taking it on Caesar. And they end up taking them so that you think that if Caesar numbers up, they're going to kill him. But then we got monologues about how apes are infused to humans. So that's like pretty funny. We got monologues. Well, he speaks and she sees her over there doing all kinds of like mumbo jumbo weird lips under her breath, like, you know, like, what the hell could that possibly be? I think it was him trying to count numbers of the humans, because if you see all the other apes like lying there prone and dead and everything, so then you see and say, okay, now, and then all the apes come back from the dead after playing possum, and they automatically surround all the humans who very stupidly left their vehicles, the tanks and everything else, to attack apes. Apes on horseback, they got nets, they got everything low tech. Now I noticed it was more like a nature versus technology type thing, and a nature one, kind of like the Ewoks in Star Wars. Yeah, this movie probably got a lot from that. So anyway, these Mad Max people all fall, and they get shot and everything else. When Jesus says, no, let them all go, let all the humans go out of the corral, and we'll go free him and wet him out, because he doesn't want any violence on their hands. And this is when they find out that General is the one that killed the baby Caesar. So then somebody said that he's just figuring out what it's like to be human, because the apes are more like more into justice and law than the general is that like to think that he did exception of the rule. So anyway, they end up letting them free, and the gang actually goes into the school bus and the other vehicles, and right after that, Apes on horseback ends up going to the school bus, shooting it up, going inside the bus, and actually lobbing grenades into the bus, killing everyone inside, and then shooting out the windows, and then go up to the windows and just bring everyone down. And that's pretty gruesome. I'm actually very surprised that that's the movie only got a G rating. So, hey kids, let's go see a movie about movies. It's like, Dad, why did you last see this movie with monkeys and blood and bullets flying every which way? And for some reason, those guys that were in the gang, they had like a weird, motif, like a weird, more like an S&M type motif to them. So anyway, another kind of disappointment with this movie was the fact that I would think that the battle for the planet Apes against humanity versus apekind is kind of like be a lot bigger. Not concentrate like into this one little area in this one valley, but the whole world would be at war with itself. Apes would be fighting humans in like Japan, China, Russia, more North America, Canada, Brazil, the European Union, etc. It'd be like a world war conflict, not just this one particular area. I would think there'd be a lot more, bigger weapons, bombs, airplanes, make a whole big spectacle out of it. But I guess because you didn't have any major budget for this movie, it was kind of understandable. But still, I want to see at least one bomb go off. It's kind of stupid to call it the battle for the planet of the apes. It was more like a scrimmage or or an incursion for the Planet of the Apes. This movie was kind of confusing. I'm kind of glad that I'm done with this final movie in the classic series of Planet of the Apes, because at this point they were kind of game up for everything they were worth. Hence why the parody movie was called The Milking of the Planet of the Apes, because it was going down every avenue and strike out on every avenue. Personally, would have Seamless or the baby, new baby Caesar as being the Jesus Christ of the ape world. And with I be fun with it, where they always portray humans getting beaten back by the apes. I'm sure that in small numbers and small communities, apes would be able to beat humans. But in the large scale of things, like with governments and with militias everywhere, and with people being so goddamn gonna have be, I'm sure the humans would put up at least a little bit of fight if they all defeat the invaders. This whole thing is kind of stupid. You know, the original movie was a classic. No one ever denied that, because society was already defeated by the apes. We didn't need to see what happened, that led up to the events of that movie. And then it seemed odd. It seemed like there were the events led up to the movie, and then it kind of left a black hole right there, with the nuclear bomb went off and it blew up everybody. And that was a big disappointment. Very real missed opportunity in my mind. But anyway, what do you guys think of this movie? You like the classic five movies? Planet of the Apes, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, Escape from the Planet of the Apes, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, and Battle for the Planet of the Apes. Which one was your favorite? If you have a favorite. And I liked it. I liked all of them. But my favorite would have to be the first one that comes out. The original. It's a madhouse. A madhouse. And don't forget your singing part about me, damn dirty ape. Although it was fun to see how humans devolved in society so that they didn't really have much of a speaking role, whereas the apes were more eloquent, they had more etiquette and more sophisticated than their descendants. I still don't understand why they want to eliminate humans so bad. Oh yeah, by the way, I forget. One other thing that they incorporated into future ape movies was I like the idea about the forbidden zone where apes did not pass, did not travel for risk of finding out something else. That was in the first ape movie as well as the remake that Tim Burton did years ago. For the first ape movie, to come to Harry, that was I think it was almost 30 years after the last 8 movies was made. Also, they lead on to the future with an 8th version of Abraham Lincoln, something at Marvel. A lot better than anything that Trump would do to the Lincoln Memorial. So, I enjoyed this a lot. This whole thing dug down memory lane from my 8 colleagues. Like I said, we finished your favorite 8 movie in the original 5-movie series. Or I should say, in the original Legacy Collection. And would you have sex with an ape if your life depended on it? Because they might say, oh, come here. Yes, think about it like that. So anyway, I like that a lot. That movie was actually kind of funny. Force years. I thank you for watching my little review of the movie Battle for the Planet of the Apes. It was very fun. It was very interesting. Anyway, I did this project in June of 2026, and it was fun, interesting, and some were kind of stupid on parts. Anyway, I give this movie my poop emoji of shame, because they missed out on a golden opportunity to show a bomb going off, and all of this stuff was just stupid, and it would achieve the big finale of humanity. And I know in the first movie there was humanity indicated, but still it was kind of pointless. But I also like the fact that they had Caesar as being like the only ape that actually liked humans enough to let him go free. Anyway, if you like what you see here, you want to support my videos, you can always like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. Or if you want, you can always contact me for future information on my videos by calling me or texting me at 631-707-3707. Or if you like, follow me on Twitter or X if you prefer at PNelsonPro. Also, you can get me on my email at jjsviewingchannel@gmail.com. So, I absolutely like these majestic creatures, and RIP to Miss Jane Goodall, that supports all apes, and gorillas in particular. Peace out, my brothers and sisters. I'll see you in the next video. All you girls and guys and internet. And I just thought about it. Wouldn't it be really something if some of the gorillas that were in this movie were like the pure silverbacks of, say, Congo. That would have been a very different movie entirely. And a more rated R movie, I will admit that. So, see around Chojo Senhara Venus and